Hello, welcome one and all. My name is Monica and welcome to my channel. It's called Guru Grit, and here I just like to learn, and I thought, why don't I just share what I learn and we can learn together and have fun, and you can teach me and I can teach you. So let's have a good time. I've just returned from a little holiday celebration at my best friend's house, whom I don't get to see very often, so it was very nice. I'm full of some very good Filipino food, so I wanted to put something out really quickly before I get ready to end the day, because I'm slammed with holiday readings. So if I don't do this now, I'll just forget, and then it'll be like February before you get the next part. So if you're curious, I'm going through books that I like. So my sister very, very kindly found the first ever book by Abraham Hicks called A New Beginning Part 1, which, as you can see, I pretty much turned into a musical instrument. And I've gone through this series on TikTok and YouTube previously, and I have A New Beginning Part 2 here somewhere to hand. Everything's always to hand in my universe. God knows, only I know where it is. But here today we have Edgar Cayce's Sex and the Spiritual Path. So a good thing about doing this as well, it's just very, very organized and color-coded highlighting. But if you find any of these things difficult to find, hard to get a hold of, at least let me know what you're interested in, because I might have some. I've been collecting, not collecting, but reading these things since I was 18. So sometimes you don't even realize what I have lying around. And it's valuable to somebody, so surely we could just get through it together and keep the good vibes flowing and moving. I have 8 Edgar Cayce books in total, and I plan on, my aim is to get through every single one of them. So let me know what you're interested in knowing. And without further ado, I've really condensed part 3 and 4 here just very, very quickly. It's late, and I really need to get, I'm not wearing a watch, but I really do need to get to sleep. So third part, Body is the Temple. So just to recap, parts 1 and 2. Effectively, through Edgar Cayce's channelings, he said that there's no such thing as sin, but the closest thing that we can get to it is the misuse of our sexual or creative energies. So whether that's in thought or in motion, not just physically, okay, to complain, whatever. I have a book I want to do as well called You Cannot Afford to Think Negatively, which I think is a very good way of putting it. So there's that to consider. Now, Body is the Temple. In Body is the Temple, he discusses the physiology of manifestation. So he goes a lot into our glands and our endocrine system. So in this sense, you know, taking care of your health, taking care of your body, balancing your blood sugar, your hormones, your brain chemistry, all these things actually do affect your ability to manifest or hinder your ability to manifest. So one way to override that is, you know, through meditation. In any case, endocrine system, very important, especially for women, very, very sensitive, hormonal balance, all those things. We must be conscious. Now, when these things are out of whack, then of course, it says, unless the centers are purified or raised, and he means to raise the centers from the root, and he does refer to it as Kundalini and Kundalini energy. So to raise it from the root through meditation and positive intention through the body, purify them, raise them up. So raise the frequency of your physical self, quite literally raise your frequency. Then desire towards sexual desires can become very common, can become excessive. He refers to it as exaggerated sexuality, but desires in general, so to want too much, can be exploded. So we must keep the energy flowing upwards through all the energy centers of the body. So it can distort one's purpose in this sense when we get stuck in one center. I'm not just saying just the root chakra in a sense of wanting a material want, material physical pleasure, any of them. Okay, you can become too intellectual, you think you're always right, you think, like, I'm not gonna get into it, but it's like Neville Goddard says, facts overflow the world, you know, basically they mean nothing. So you just have to keep it moving. You have to be balanced in all ways. And he discusses conscious intercourse. So having conscious intercourse is one of the things that can raise the vibration of the body. Unconscious intercourse. Now, when I say unconscious, I don't mean literally. I don't wish that for anyone. He means it's not coming from a place of pure positive energy, which is mentioned in the first parts of the book. One of the best things you can do as a human being is to have 2 human beings come together, and the sole aim of each one is to flow love to the other completely and fully in an unbridled manner, and then have that flown back to you is a very, very high vibration to love people. But he meant it in a physical capacity, but in any capacity, of course. But he was talking specifically about Intercourse. So Chakras and Memory. This one was really, really interesting story, and I mentioned it in the last video, how the energy centers store memory. Okay, so they remember. That means he gave the example of a woman who'd come to get a reading from him. She was 32 years old. She had a gentle, loving husband, and she didn't understand why she couldn't be intimate with him. And it turns out that her solar plexus retained the karmic memory of a previous incarnation when she was married to the same soul. So her now husband was her husband then. And then, before he left for the Crusades, he locked her in a chastity belt, and that's very traumatizing. You know, it's painful, it's unhygienic, it's difficult, etc. And it's a lack of trust, ultimately. So some horrible violence was done to her, and her current incarnation remembered this because there's no time. It's not linear, it's simultaneous. So her body said no, and so she had to work through that. And it's just, I thought that was very interesting. So you could have but you can have a memory of anything. You know, you could be born into absolute destitution and have been somebody very wealthy in a previous life. And if you balance that chakra, then you could just come into spontaneous mass wealth, or have a $1 million idea that goes on to make you very wealthy and your family in this life. So that's body is the temple, okay? Physiology does affect your ability to create. That's how you can get around it, so forth, okay? Next, we discuss mind as the builder. So this is part 4, mind as the builder. He really is very straightforward with this. And it's very, did I write it here somewhere? It's very Joe Dispenza-y. Here we go. Motivated meditation. He calls it motivated meditation. And this is exactly what Dr. Dispenza talks about. To meditate, to have a purpose, to meditate, to calm the mind, to feel nice, to just relax. Okay, so do not meditate because you want a new car. You're saying, oh, I'm going to raise my vibration, I'm going to meditate, and then I'm going to get that car. If you meditate for the sake of meditating, you will get the car. If you're happy for the sake of being happy, you will meet the love of your life. But if you think that you have to force inner peace and force happiness to have the job, the car, the whatever opportunity, the perfect marriage, it doesn't work that way. Okay, we can psych out other people and play little magic tricks here and there. I don't know, to my knowledge, anyone who really likes a magician, so why would you do that to the universe? But you can't fool energy. It goes and flows everywhere. It knows absolutely everything. So you must meditate for the purpose of meditation, for the sake of meditating, okay? So that's very important to understand. And next is to intend. So you intend to feel peaceful, you intend to feel calm, whatever, okay, it is for you. You're not going to say, I intend to be married. We know, I intend to be rich. Of course, I intend to be healthy. I wish that for everyone. But you just intend to feel present in that moment. You're not bringing in future possibilities or anxieties. You're just, for now, you're just calming yourself down. You're entering into a state, or as Neville calls it, the state. Enter the state akin to sleep. Now, you've changed your physiology. You are calm. If you enter that, the intended thing, now that you're calm, you can enter that. Now you can start, oh, it would feel so nice to be financially stable. It would feel so good to be loved and to have someone to flow my love to. And now you're feeling the feeling of that. From that state, akin to sleep, that is when you create. So that is the formula. And this is the formula. It's pretty much, I mean, I don't know how many books I've read. I don't know how many teachers I've seen. I've gone to seminars. I've read. I've heard interviewed. I've heard about. I've met. This is it. There's no deviation from it. You have to be calm. You have to be sure, and you have to be in a feeling state. And when your physiology clicks into place with that intention, then it must create. It must come. Now, this is the important thing as well. He calls it dwelling upon. So Abraham says, you get what you think about. There's no exceptions to the rule. You get what you think about. That's it. And so dwelling upon is planning whether we call it that or not. And that's actually pretty cool, because people will say things like, I hate my job and I don't want to be there, and I want to be rich, and I want to work in a place I want to work in. So why did I get fired? We thought, but did you think about how much you hate your job every day? Yeah, but I don't want to be broke. So why did I get fired? This stuff doesn't work. It's like, no. You were literally dwelling upon the fact how much you hated your place of work. And now that you've been let go, you can't honestly tell me that you don't see the correlation, because it's like, I only want the things I want. I don't want to acknowledge that I created the things I don't want. And if it's inadvertent, I understand. A human being could forgive you, but the universe isn't. I don't think it's a sentimental thing. It's a very formulaic thing. So you just get whatever you dwell upon. Okay, so if you're worried, you get worries. If you're sad, you get more reason to be sad. If you're happy, you get that. But I think in my experience, it's best to be hopeful. So even if you're miserable, even if things aren't going well, when you're hopeful, there's always a possibility something just, it's like you let in a little bit of an energetic crack, something just opens and something can swoop in and make you feel a little better. And then once you start feeling better, you attract better feeling things, and then it sort of has an avalanche effect. So dwelling upon, mind is the builder, and this is very important. And he says, energy is always the same, only the use of it varies. So this goes hand in hand with dwelling upon, because what it pretty much implies is it doesn't matter if you created something you like or don't like. It works the same way for everybody. There are zero exceptions. Like Abraham jokes with Esther. She's like, but Abraham, I live out of suitcases for you, and I speak to people every day, and I have no life, and I have to move around all the time, and I do this for you, you know, can't you just this once, just let this thing go my way because I work so hard? And they're like, no, you have to raise your vibration to get the things that you want. We're not coming down there. You have to come up here and meet us on the level of the thing that you want. So basically it's like that. Whatever you're concerned with, it's just going to worry. My dad always used to say when I was younger, if I hurt my elbow, I'd be like, my elbow hurts. He'd go, hurt it back. So if you have a toothache, he'd be like, hurt it back. So if you want to get something, you have to be more like it. Okay, it's not going to be more like you. It's sort of like a fixed thing now. And this actually works in your favor. I've given the example before of I dated someone who would only ever text me when I was in a really bad place in my life. And it took me a few weeks, but I figured it out. I thought, how come I only hear from this person when I'm in a really bad mood or I just missed the bus? I do remember one time it was like a cold March day and I left work early and I was freezing. Like my hands were just like, I was so cold. And my phone went off a few times and he was like joking and messaging me, like, how have you been? And I thought, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. How come when I'm happy I never hear from you? And then I realized it's because my vibration dipped. So now we were on par. So this could be with positive experiences, negative experiences, it doesn't matter. That's why it's encouraged to constantly keep rising. Okay, so that way you always attract the best things. But in this chapter, in Mind is the Builder, this is very, very fascinating. He gives an incredible story of the power of thought and thought forms. So you can call them tulpas, you can call them ghosts. I don't really mind what you call them. But Abraham has also extensively spoken about how, especially in their earlier work, when Jerry would ask, how does thought turn into a thing? Like, how does it actually happen? You think it enough times, it becomes heavy, and then its vibration slows down, and then it manifests. It makes manifest. So basically what had happened was he gives the story of a woman who centuries prior, 500 years ago, was a very lonely person, and she was constantly daydreaming about the ideal mate. And this became her obsession because she didn't have anything else to do, and she didn't have anyone, and she presumably lived a very sad life. I mean, in my imagination, which I use very carefully most of the time, unless I'm really, really moody. She thought a lot. And so I thought she must have been like I don't know, like a servant or someone who worked somewhere, a farmer, a peasant, let's say like Tudor England. And she's probably unmarried. So she spent decades daydreaming that someone would come in, be so in love with her, sweep her off her feet, and rescue her from that life, presumably. And so in this lifetime, she had a daughter who became interested in the metaphysical, and she was walking past a pile. She knew about it, and she saw a pile of books, and she grabbed the first book on top and saw that it was about automatic writing. Then she thought, okay, I'm going to give it a whirl, girl. I got nothing else to do. And much to her surprise, she finds out, like, I'm actually very psychic, and something starts coming through. And in the book, he says, much like most things with this work, it starts off as like love and light. It starts off as like all peaceful, and then it takes a turn. It takes a turn. So this thought form, she starts, things are moving, hearing things in the house, whatever, temperature changes, etc. But come to find out, she goes to see Edgar Cayce. She says, I'm really freaking out because this thing's like really talking to me. What is it? So he said to her, hundreds of years ago, you were very lonely. And since time isn't real, it's happening now. You have thought so obsessively in this incarnation about having a lover that previous incarnation, that in this incarnation, same thing, has come through. So this thought form has made manifest. And now, just as she'd always wanted, it's obsessed with her. It's obsessed with her. So it would manifest in the room, it would move things, it would try speaking to her, touching her, and more detail in the book, but I'll leave that part out. So she's shocked to hear this. But this just goes to show then, it connects with what he's speaking about in the earlier parts, which is that if every thought you've ever been thought still exists, and this is effectively what the Akashic Records is like an energetic cosmic library, it keeps everything stored past, present, and future. And therefore every action too, and every desire, it must make manifest, or it can. I'm not gonna say must, but it can make manifest. So effectively our friend in the book lowered her resistance about metaphysics. And in doing so, allowed this to come through her. And so she experienced it in this incarnation. And that's very fascinating because if you consider how he speaks about physical intimacy, let's suppose that in this lifetime, and again, I'm not like saying it's good or bad, I'm just giving the example. Let's say that in this lifetime, you had a strong desire to feel close emotional connection. And no one taught you how, no one told you, you didn't know. And you grew up in the time in the 2000s where hookup culture was the norm. And so that's what you did. But it only made you more lonely. It only made you even more lonely. And so maybe, you worked out fine in your life, or maybe you didn't. In another incarnation, you might not attract a lot of lovers, but you might attract one person who loves you deeply. It might take another turn where in another incarnation, because you did all those things out of a place of asking and out of a place of loneliness, you could just repeat that cycle. You could just have multiple lovers again, but no one who truly knows you and loves you. This is why he says never to waste your mental energy and to do everything consciously. Because if you're partaking in anything consciously, eating an apple or, I don't know, doing your eyeliner, it doesn't matter. You offset any kind of future possibility. I'm not going to call it a consequence because nothing actually goes wrong, because there's nothing that you can't fix effectively, energetically, surely. So in that sense, they tie in very, very well together. How you treat your body is going to correspond to how you think your thoughts and what goes on in your mind, and that is going to be what you live. So if you don't fulfill it in this timeline, you will fulfill it in another one. Just like our friend did here, where she was so lonely, she wanted a lover, and then she manifested a lover who very much wanted her, and she was not having any of it. She was like, I'm married, you need to leave my bedroom. And this thing was like, I don't care, lady, you've been calling and I've answered now. So you just do, when you do everything consciously, when you eat consciously and you smell your food and you chew it and you appreciate it, it does something to you. Every time you drink some water and you appreciate it, it does something wonderful for you. Eating in a rushed manner out of anger, it's not going to give your body the same reaction, even if have you ever gotten off the phone with someone and thought, you utter ass, they can feel it, they know, even if you don't say it to them. So always try to be mindful of that, be mindful of what you're putting out around you, because you're inviting it in simultaneously. So thank you so much. I really look forward to getting through the rest of this book. It's very, very fascinating. And yeah, I've got many more to get through. For the medical ones, if I reach over, I'll fall. But for I have 2 medical ones, and I can't get through everything. It's just too condensed, and there's other things I'd rather be doing for you guys. So what I'm going to suggest is, if there's a specific question, like he has a whole section in one of them about women's health, or, let's say, I don't know, blood pressure, or he's a really big advocate for castor oil packs. If you've ever done them, they're amazing. If you ever want to know about something specific, feel free to shoot me a DM. It's the only reason I have an Instagram, so people can message me. As you can tell, I don't take it very seriously just yet, but message me, email me, ask, and let me know, and that way I can just go through that part of the book. And obviously I won't be like Jerry asked about, I'll go through specific parts of the book to keep it as condensed possible and hopefully have them all in one video. So thank you so much for being here with me. I hope you're having a wonderful festive holiday season wherever you are, taking care of each other and being safe. And until next time, I love you all. Bye bye.